What's going on, guys? Xbox Gut. Welcome back to another video. So today's video, we finally finished Claymore. I finished it, what was it, Saturday night? I know it's Monday today. Well, it's Monday as the recording of this video. But I finished up Claymore. I literally knocked out the last 8 volumes in a day. I literally could not put it down. So this video is kind of like a complete series review. You know, I'm not gonna go in depth in the story. You know, I might hit some key points or and stuff like that. But you know, I have 4 main points and I have pros and cons about the story. I have written them down right here. But yeah, I love Claymore. Like, am I gonna keep it? Yeah. What do I rate it right off the bat? 9 out of 10. It's great. Yeah. So let's just jump right into it. So first, I want to talk about the characters. My 3 favorite characters are Claire. Why I like Claire so much? She's just a badass. I mean, I love the dynamic. And so I am going to talk about spoilers. So if you guys haven't read Claymore or anything like that, you know, just be prepared for me to talk about, you know, a lot of story elements and stuff that happens during the story. So, you know, I like the way Claire was able to use other powers like, Elena the Quicksword. I loved how she was able to take her arm and use it and be able to do the Quicksword and stuff like that. So like throughout the story, you wonder why Claire is so powerful, because she's actually ranked the lowest Claymore. But she's like super powerful and stuff like that. Well, you know, by the end of the story, I kind of realized that it was because of Teresa. You know, if you guys don't know that, this is pretty much like the prequel. So Teresa saved Claire, killed the humans, so the Claymores went after Teresa. They killed Teresa, and then Claire went to the organization with Teresa's head, and they made her into a Claymore. And not to mention that Teresa is the most powerful Claymore to ever live. She's hella powerful. I mean, she's super powerful and not even in her awakened form. So that's the thing. Yoma have awakened form, they have abyssal form. There's so many different, not so many different, I mean, there's just different levels of being a Yoma and how powerful they are. Getting to my second favorite character, he actually doesn't have a volume to show off who he is, but his name is Rocky. He might actually be my favorite character in the story, just purely because of the character development. The character development with Rocky was great. Like, from the very first volume, you know, he was just, you know, scared. He didn't know what to do. He was just clinging on to Claire, you know what I mean? And he was all words. He was just telling her like, I'll help you. I'll help you. I can learn how to fight and I can help you. And, you know, he gets separated from Claire because Claire leaves him at a safe town and stuff like that. Well, Claire goes off and battles Yoma because she's still a Claymore. She still has to, you know, go do her job and stuff like that. So you kind of don't really keep contact with Rocky for a lot of the volumes. So a big chunk of Claymore, you don't really follow Rocky. But you know, there's this new guy and he has a hood on and he's whooping Yoma ass, and he's over there like just this badass character. I'm like, who the hell is this? And then it's Rocky, and I was like, dude, that is fucking great character development, because I used to him being like, you know, scared and stuff like that. Now he's over here talking about like, now he knows how the Yoma work. He's like, yeah, I'm a good swordsman. I'm trained by Isley, which is one of the 3, which I'll get into it later. But yeah, he's just like, the character development, he's so much more developed by like the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th volume. He definitely emerged as one of my favorite characters in Claymore for sure. And my third favorite character, I'm not sure how you pronounce her name, but she was in this volume. Actually, I'm gonna change it. These 2 are one, in my opinion, because they're so dynamic. They are like a duo. You know, Genevieve and I forget her name. I can't even remember. I loved how goofy she was. I loved how loud she was, but she was a badass. I loved how she used the double swords. Wow, I loved both of them. They were like definitely some side characters that I really enjoyed. I'm not really that type of guy to like a lot of side characters and stuff like that, but these guys definitely blew me away. And you know, keep in mind that I'm not a fan of like, not a fan, it's just I keen more reading towards male main characters. And it's not that I have anything against female characters, and that's the reason why I wanted to get into this. Is I really enjoyed every single character, and well, not every single character, but I enjoyed a lot of the characters, and every single character is female. So other thing I want to get into is the development. The development of everyone is fantastic. I mean, whether you like the character or not, the development's there. They kind of force it down your throat almost for characters that you don't like towards the later volumes, which is one of my cons of the story. One of my cons of the story. But I feel like it doesn't weigh the overall quality of Claymore for me. And I want to talk about the range of Claymore. I mean, there are times where it is very, very action. There are times where it is very like emotional. You know, there are times where they're just talking. There's times where it's just mystery. You know, the range in Claymore is fantastic. I loved the villains. Just the range in Claymore is fantastic. You know, the world building is great, and that brings me into my next point, is the world. That's my next main point. You know, the world, you know, it didn't bite off more than it could chew. It feels like it handles, it kind of contains itself, and it's not like blown out of proportion. Maybe it pushes that in the later volumes, but God, it just wows me at how grand the scale and the battles kind of get. And that brings me to my next point. The world feels very developed. Like, it just feels like when you read it, you know about these Yoma, you know how they work, you know that the Claymore can push their limits, and they can awaken, they can become Yoma, you know, so you know this stigma around this world. And, you know, as I was reading it, I kind of didn't see it as a Berserk. I didn't see it as anything. I saw it as Claymore. I loved it for what it was, and it was just such a different story. I mean, it was absolute action-packed. And going to my next point, the hierarchy in Claymore is actually kind of hard to follow, but it's still super interesting. So, like, you have your three main regional leaders. You have Isley, Riffle, and then another girl's name. But see, so you have like west, east, south battling. It's kind of like Claymore's in the middle, kind of trying to taking out. And it's a lot of land battles and stuff like that. And, you know, I'm all for that, but sometimes it gets a little hard to follow and stuff like that. And brings me to my next point, which it's hard to follow in a sense that, like, I thought that characters would live a lot longer, and they just kind of died a lot sooner. Like Isley, whenever he was fighting the yeah, that was another point that I didn't like about it. I'll get to it later. It brings me to my next point, the action. Geez, the action in Claymore, well, it was not lacking. I was worried that it was going to be kind of like talking. Dude, it was fluent. I loved every bit of it. I mean, you could see when they were like cleaning the swords off, like blocking and stuff like that, jumping in, swooping down. Super fluent, super just easy to read. There are times where it kind of gets a little bit, but that's with any manga. You can say that with anything. Like, it's subjective. Like, people say that the art in you know, Berserk is sometimes hard to follow, and I agree, but it's still conveyed very well. The fight scenes are long, and it's like you can fly through a volume in 20 minutes, 25 minutes if you're really just sitting there in silence reading this volume. That's what I love about it. It's just like the long fight scenes are what make Claymore for me, because it's what I love. It's action, and it's fluent, it's easy to follow, badass characters. Like I said, Genevieve, she literally holds, and I think you can even see it inside, she holds 2 massive Claymores, and that is against the Claymore code. And see, that goes to my point of the world building. You know about this Claymore. Like, I just want you guys to read it. And I want you guys, if you guys have read it, let me know down in the comments your thoughts about Claymore. It's fantastic. My next point, art. Okay, so at first, whenever I was first reading it, I didn't mind the art as much, and I watched a video after I finished Claymore, and some guy was pointing out that the art was rough at first, and I was like, you know what, I have to agree with him. The lack in the shading in the face, it's a lot of just outlines, and that just makes up the face with facial features, excuse me. Yeah, it's just a lot of not shading in the face, and there's a a point in the later volumes, I wish I knew what volume it was. I think it might be the actual final volume. There's like shading in the final boss's Priscilla's face, and she looks fucking freaky. And I was just like, that's awesome, because it's just like you're so used to having the lack of shading in the face that it really hits when it is there. It's really cool. Here's my next point. The art gets a lot better and fast too. So like by volume 7, by volume 8, the art is already improved. The fights are already more fluent. The Yoma look crazy. They look insane, and it does not stop getting crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier. Brings me to my next point, which is the art. The girls, there's so many different Claymore, and they're all female, so they all have silver hair, because whenever you convert to a Yoma, all the color gets sucked out of your hair. So it's hard to follow sometimes, because they all have different hairstyles. So it is like there is a difference. It's not like they all have one hairstyle, but they have different hairstyles, and just for me, it was hard to follow who was who. There were so many different names, like Claire, Clarice, Maria, fucking just so many different names. But yeah, let me get into the pros. So the ending was fantastic. So I thought the ending was gonna fall flat. I don't even want to give away what the ending is, or even hint to what the ending is for you guys, because I want you guys to see yourself, because it hits completely different. If you guys want to talk about it in the comments, I'm down for it. But yeah, the ending did not fall flat. Jesus, I was so glad that I read those 11 volumes in that one sitting, because or those 8 volumes in that one sitting, because that ending was just such a great payoff. Solid story. Like, the story was fantastic through the beginning. You know, it started as super simple, you know, like these Claymores going off to do these bounties. They're killing these bigger and bigger bad guys, and then all of a sudden it just breaks off into, now Claire and this group of 7 Claymores want to go after the organization, you know? So it's just awesome. I love the premise of Claymore. Great characters, like I said, fantastic antagonists too. I loved Isley, another one of my favorite characters. He wasn't in my top 3, but Isley was one of my favorite characters. Probably my favorite Yoma design for sure. And then I have another bullet point saying the ending was fantastic. I don't want to overhype it, but it was great. So the cons that I have written down is, yeah, there's too many characters. There's just sometimes like I said, it's just hard to follow so many different characters. And the mangaka has a tend in the later volumes to not focus on the characters that I liked, like Claire, Rocky. I was waiting to see those. Even Phantom Maria, I was waiting to see her. Whenever we got stuck with Clarice and Murata, I was bored. I wasn't bored, but it was just losing me a little bit. And that's why I got to give it a 9 out of 10. It was not a 10 out of 10, because the ending was great, the beginning was great, the middle was great, but sometimes in between the quarters, it was just fell a little bit for me. And yeah, that just kind of wraps up my thoughts about Claymore. Yeah, 9 out of 10. I just gotta say, if you guys can catch this series on Right Stuff or on Amazon, dude, do it. Please, you will not regret it. This video's already dragged on enough. I hope you guys thought my thoughts on Claymore were cool. If you guys want to talk about it, go down in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. If you guys are new, I know I'm getting a lot of traction on that one video where I talk about how much I've read on my collection. So if you're new, don't forget to subscribe, guys. Laters.